Now, this is going to be a fun way to end your work week, or if you're watching the replay over the weekend, we are really happy to have you here along with Tom Shapiro, special guest and #1 best-selling author of Rethink Lead Generation. This is book number 2 in a series. Tom is the owner of a fantastic, wildly growing company called Stratabeat. And I just want to shower Tom with a little bit of uncomfortable love here for a moment, because this is a man to know and follow, not just now, but for the long term. I've been working with Tom for 6 months now, and I can tell you that on every single call that we had, he showed up with such kindness and such a big smile on his face and just open and loving to my team. Just a remarkable human. And this is in the midst of wild growth in his company and in the middle of finishing up the book and talking with influencers and all the things that happen in a book launch. He was just a really shining example of leadership and being a great, great human. So Tom, I'm really excited to spend the next 30 or so minutes with you, giving you the spotlight and allowing our audience to really get to know what makes you so special, not just in your topic, but you as a person. So I'm just happy for you. Congratulations. How does it feel to have another best-selling book under your belt?
Thank you. Thank you. It feels great. And thanks for the kind words, the very, very, very kind words. So I really do appreciate that. But it feels great. The book was just published last week, and it seems that the reception that it's getting is fantastic. People really like it. The feedback that I'm getting is extremely positive. People are learning a ton of new strategies and ideas, and even just general approaches to lead generation and B2B marketing. And it's just so satisfying. It's so fulfilling to hear that, because I put my heart and soul into the book, and to have people come away with so much value out of it, it really means a lot to me.
And I can vouch for how much he put his heart and soul into it. It's a fantastic book. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but talk to me about Stratabeat and what was your vision for this company, and what have you experienced so far, and where are you going?
Yeah, sure. So 11 years ago, I started Stratabeat at my dining room table with a laptop and a cell phone. That was it.
What kind of guy?
And so through the years, we have really identified that B2B marketing is what we're all about, right? That we focus on business to business marketing. And we deal with a lot of technology companies, whether it's software, whether it's SaaS, whether it is green technology, whether it's biotech, whether it's med tech or health technology. So across the board, lots of different types of technology. And we're all about growth. We're all about organic growth. For one of our clients, we helped them recently grow by literally over 6,000% in organic traffic growth.
6,000% organic growth.
And it's actually higher than that. I'm just rounding down. I'm rounding down.
Wow. That's crazy. That's amazing.
And that's what we love doing. We love helping our clients to grow. For one of our clients, we helped them grow from 50 employees to 250 within 2 years, all through.
How do you do that? What are some of the strategies involved in all of this growth? How do you even begin to do that?
Yeah, so we really focus on the organic side of growth. So it's everything from SEO to content development, content marketing, account-based marketing, conversion optimization, and even building websites, right? And the key is you don't want to follow best practices. And I know that sounds backwards, right? Everyone wants to follow best practices, but I'm telling you that it will just lead you into a sea of sameness with all of your competition. And as we've all seen, right? Markets are completely saturated now with competitors, and everyone is following best practices, or what they think is best practices. And there's a lot of copycat brands now, a ton of copycat brands. And a good example of this is what you see in LinkedIn. I'm sure, Amber, you see it, and I'm sure everyone listening experiences this too, but I'm inundated with salespeople pitching me stuff in LinkedIn.
Oh my gosh, it's a huge turnoff. Why does this keep happening?
It is a huge turnoff. and 99% of the pitches are the same.
Exactly the same.
Yeah. And so that's what I mean. Like, clearly someone was teaching a course about like they were a guru, right? And this is how you do it. And everyone's doing it the same way. And they're just, it's a template and there's no customization whatsoever. So what Rethink Lead Generation is all about is, instead of looking at best practices and trying to do things that way and trying to fit in, what you want to do is rely on extreme creativity and lateral thinking and marketing innovation and thinking differently. And that's the key to success, because if you think about it, creativity is the one thing. It is the only thing that cannot be commoditized. It cannot be. It is your strongest sustainable growth factor, is your creativity, right? It's a competitive edge. And so, you might have great technology today, but your competitors might leapfrog you 6 months from now, right? You might have great people, but I'm sure a lot of your competitors do or will, right? But your creativity, that's where you can really cut through all the noise, right? And everyone is fighting through, what is it now, 5,000 to 10,000 marketing messages a day?
Oh my
Before you can fight through that, it's through creativity. And so creativity really does win. And this is not just me saying it. Like, this is backed up by some of the biggest names in business. McKinsey, the management consulting firm, ran multiple studies, not just one study, multiple studies across multiple years, looking at the value of creativity and the impact of creativity on business. And what they found was that in one study, they interviewed over 200 CMOs. And what they found was that those companies that prioritized creativity and integrated creativity into their marketing rather than siloing it, having brainstorm sessions elsewhere, but not integrating it with, say, their data teams or anything else, those companies were able to grow at twice the rate. And this is revenue growth. This is business growth, revenue growth. We're not talking about traffic, we're talking about leads. We're talking about revenue growth.
Twice the rate. That's so interesting. I'm sure to those of you watching, you can already see why Tom and I get along as well as we do, because we're so aligned in our values and our thinking about this. I mean, back when I started NGNG in 2007, there was the same, like, you've got the gurus and they're saying you have to do it this way. And it was this cookie cutter approach. And I'm over here like, oh my gosh, this is not good. And what I did is I was creative and innovative and I went my own way. And all of a sudden, people started coming in and they could see the difference. And they're like, oh, thank goodness there's a different solution, because that's not me. And now I just think it's so interesting that 15 years later, just about, that same thing is happening, where I see a different kind of cookie cutter content or approach or strategy or whatever the box is. And I'm over here saying, nope, creativity, there's go your own way. And then there's even more people now that are so relieved to see that there's people like Tom out in the world that are showing you, forget about the best practices. Like, let's lead with creativity and innovation. Let's do your lead generation in a different way. And it's seeing enormous results. That's 2x though. I find that really, really fascinating.
There's another study that I just want to share with you by Tenebos, where they interviewed 3,600 CMOs. And what they found was, unanimously, all of them, 100% of them said that creativity helped them to improve their revenue top line, as well as their customer loyalty, as well as their profitability. All of them, 3,600 marketing executives. I mean, it's undeniable, the impact of creativity. Yeah, what you find with a lot of companies is they're very into optimization, right? But if you are trying to optimize what is mediocre, you are going to have optimized mediocrity. That's what you're going to have. I'm sorry, you are.
I love that. I want to share my screen. I've got to do that. I want to bring up the Stratabeat website here just for a moment. So this is the primary business website here. We amplify your awesomeness. and you can see some of the different services that they offer. While I do this, and I'm going to jump over to your personal website and show off the book, talk a little bit more about the type of client that you are trying to attract in, because I know the audience listening, some of them are just solopreneurs, all the way up to people that might have hundreds of thousands of people on their email list and maybe teams of people. So I have a pretty diverse audience there, Tom, but who do you specifically want to work with?
Yeah, so we tend to work with a lot of mid-sized companies. And so it typically goes up to $1 billion in annual revenue. But on the other hand, we also work with several Fortune 500 companies. And so, we'll work with any B2B company. We don't work with B2C really. It's really B2B.
Right.
And we also focus on organic growth. So if you're a team that is looking for organic growth, then we might be a good fit. And what do I mean by that? So I mean, we do not pay to play. We do not pay for a click. We do not rent an audience. So if you think about it, right?
Speaking my love language, man. Keep it going.
So, we want to earn the trust of the audience. We want to build a relationship with the audience. That's what we're all about. And I think that in our client results, we prove that really is the most effective way to go. And so, we don't want to be paying for advertising where when you stop paying, your leads go to zero. Literally, they go to zero if you stop paying.
That's right.
How does that help you? Whereas if you are thinking organically and you build a strong brand, and you build an amazing website that delivers a ton of value for your audience, and then you develop amazing content and you optimize the heck out of it for Google, and then you're conducting ABM for your most prized accounts, and you're conducting conversion optimization on the back end, behavioral analysis on the back end, you develop a leads engine. It's just a lead generation engine that you can develop that is all centered on building relationships. So we're not very transactional at all. I mean, we're never reaching out and trying to sell anyone on anything. What we're trying to do is help them. The first conversation that we always have with our prospects is, what are you trying to achieve? And then we see if we can help them achieve it, and and also if we can help them think bigger and see a bigger picture and a bigger goal.
Which is amazing. This is again why we're so aligned, because I really love the creativity, really the customized approach, getting people to build real relationships and connection through their marketing, and then obviously that's going to set the business up for long-term success. Talk to me about the difference between your first book and your second book, and then where you're going in the book writing journey.
Yeah, sure. So my first book was Rethink Your Marketing. And so that actually was way back in the day when we were doing also B2C marketing. So we were doing both B2C and B2B. Mm-hmm. And so it looks at 7 different strategies of how you can unleash growth for your business. And so it looks at your marketing mix. It looks at your audience targeting. It looks at your revenue model, things like that. 7 different aspects of business where you can be rethinking your marketing to unleash growth. Mm-hmm. And, what I found in that book, there are over 50 different case studies in the book. I interviewed many different executives, including the president of Domino's Pizza. I mean, lots and lots of really, successful companies.
Yeah.
And in every single case, bar none, what unleashed growth was that they had a backbone and they took bold, decisive action. In no case did a company just tinker around the edges and hesitate to unleash growth. It just didn't happen. It was always putting the chips into the middle of the table and going big and bold. And so, I really saw the value in that. Going big, going bold makes a huge difference. So with the new book, what I wanted to do was specifically focus on B2B. And, the most important thing for many B2B businesses is lead generation, right? They need leads.
Everybody wants to know about it. Everybody does. Yeah.
Right. You get more leads and you will grow. And if your lead flow drops or your quality of leads drops, it's going to be a tough ride. And so we wanted to do a deep dive on lead generation specifically. And so, what I found was creativity and lateral thinking and innovation and thinking differently really were the drivers of the greatest growth. No matter where I looked, Exact Target, email marketing platform. They were huge several years ago, and then they were bought out by Salesforce for $3.5 billion. So they were very, very successful. So what did their CEO attribute their success to? Creativity. Just creativity. He said, we were so creative in every aspect of the business, everything. We in the marketing, in the sales, in hiring, everything, we looked towards creativity. And that is what we attribute to the massive growth, the massive value, the $3.5 billion valuation that Salesforce applied to them.
That is nuts. And, the book, what I've seen a lot of comments coming back is that it is so deep and it's so specific. So if you are not a Fortune 500 company or all the way up to $1 billion, like this book is absolutely what you need to get. And you should get it for your whole team. Get it for your clients if you need to, or in a mastermind situation, depending on the business that you're in. This is a really deep learning that's not just going to change your thought leadership, but it's going to give you a plan, something you can anchor into moving forward. And then also, I just happen to be privy to the fact that Tom is working on rolling out a course. So why don't you tell people what they can expect there, Tom, if that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to be rolling out a course in the next few months. It is
big deal.
So it's going to be all about how you drive leads through SEO and content. So, I talk about that a lot in Rethink Lead Generation, right? SEO and content driving leads. And so this is going to be an extension of that but it's going to be interactive. It's going to be, many, many different modules. So you can pick and choose, what you want to be learning. We also have some fantastic guest educators, guest lecturers for you. One, I will let you know now as a sneak peek into the course is
not to put you on the spot or anything there, Tom. Sorry.
One is Ginger Shimp, who I love to death, and she's brilliant. She's brilliant. She is in charge of content, so she's the content head at SAP, one of the largest software companies in the entire world. And so you'll be learning directly from her too. And so I think, in the case that, maybe you might be a smaller company, or let's say you're a solopreneur and you still gain access to all of these insights, which are very applicable even to a one-person business.
For sure.
Maybe Stratabeat's fees are a little higher than what you're able to pay. The course is a fantastic way to learn about all this stuff, learn about all the different ways that you can be using SEO and using content development and using content marketing in order to drive massive leads growth for your business. So that'll be coming out in a few months. And then if I may,
please,
coming out after the course will be my third book, which is going to be all about rethinking SEO. So very tied to the course, but in a book form. And so it's going to be looking at SEO from every which angle you can imagine, but doing a very, very deep dive on SEO and how you can be using SEO not only to drive traffic, but also to drive leads and to drive business growth.
Which is so important, because I remember back in 2005, when I first started learning about the online world, and I was at this conference and I came home and I taught myself code and I set up the world's probably most horrible looking blog back then. But one of the things that I was really interested in was SEO, search engine optimization, because I thought this is, how I'm going to get found over time. Social media was just kind of like just getting started and people are figuring out what they wanted to do with it. And that's all well and good. Social media serves a purpose. In my opinion, it's how you're having the conversation with the people that are interested in you. So it's more of like getting them to get in your head a little bit. And what are you experiencing? And what's your uniqueness and your creativity, right? But I looked at SEO as a win-win relationship with Google and now with YouTube and so forth, where Google back then was like a massive library. And every time I posted a blog post, for example, that fed an entry into its library. And if I fed that library on a regular basis, then Google might pay attention to me more than the person who just did it here and there, or maybe not even at all. And the longer that I'm consistent with my content marketing practice and feeding that library, that engine, then it would start to reward me for that consistency, right? And then the more I focused on the value of the content, right? So really doing deeper articles and linking and becoming the authority on this content piece, well, then maybe it would start to reward me even more for that, right? So I'm over here like going down this track. Meanwhile, all of these SEO companies are popping up like crazy. And as I was starting to work with more and more website clients and then book launch clients, man, all these clients came into me, Tom, and they said, I heard about this SEO thing and I know it's important, but I don't know what I'm doing. And I've hired all of these SEO companies and I just don't know that it's working. And I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
Right. So what I appreciate about Tom, long-winded way of saying, is that Tom is the real deal. There are a lot of these companies out there that have a little bit more of like a cookie cutter approach, or it's like a recycled form of SEO, and they don't necessarily ever really have to prove their results because algorithms are always changing, right? And so there are these programs that will just have you paying these retainers month after month, and then they don't get you results, but you don't really know what you don't know. And so it's a very dysfunctional and kind of disheartening industry. And Tom is the opposite of that. Like, Tom is somebody who's out there hitting the pavement and not only proving his process with these insane growth numbers that are legitimate. And he didn't just like have some weird approach to do it. Like, he is putting in the sweat equity, pouring over this content, making sure it's the best that it can be, serving his clients at the absolute highest level. And so that's why I can't be like emphatic enough about the content that he's putting out there, even just in his book content as well. This is the guy that you have to follow for organic, for SEO, for content marketing. We have a lot of alignment there as well. But I am definitely anxious for that next book to be coming out, Tom. It's going to be a massive launch. I really feel like we need to get that out in the hands of all of the agencies out there to gift to their clients, like world domination with that one, Tom.
I'm so looking forward to it. And it's funny because when I tell other marketers some of the things that we do in SEO, they can't believe how much effort we put into it. They just cannot even fathom it. I'll give you an example.
Please.
So one blog post, we might put in 15 to 20 hours for it. 15
one blog post.
One blog post.
Wow.
That's how much effort we put in. And because we look at it very holistically, and the first thing that we do before we do any writing is we scrape the Google search results. We want to see all the data from Google, right? Because then we can reverse engineer the intent. What is it that people are actually looking for, right? And how is Google then serving it up to them in a way that they're clicking and clicking because they like what's there, and it's authoritative and it's high quality. We only deal in high quality. Only when we see Google page one, our aim is always to have the highest quality listing in page one. Always, always, always. But we'll literally put 15 to 20 hours into one single blog post for one research report. And in Rethink Lead Generation, I talk about the value of original research and proprietary databases.
I'll be your Vanna.
I'm telling you, it's really awesome for not only your SEO, but also for your audience as well, and also for your PR. For one of our clients, we did a research report. It was 100 pages long. 100 pages long for one research report. And, there's no magic bullet. There's no silver bullet with SEO. It is hard work. And you also need to be extremely strategic about it. But if you're completely strategic and you put in more work than anyone else in the SERPs, it gives you a good chance of winning. And of course, like I said, it all has to be the highest quality possible, and that's what we're all about. But that's what it takes. You can't just like tinker around the edges and hope that you rank on Google page 1. That is not how it works.
No. And that's another thing that we align on, is just take the time to do it right.
Yep.
And this conversation, you can use this conversation well beyond lead generation even, because that's an example of how to be a great business owner right there, right? Like you could just slap stuff out there and think you're going to be an overnight success or hope that it works, or, but when you really think about it, like, what are you really trying to build? Don't you want to build a sustainable brand that makes a positive impact that people want to talk about? And if that's really what you want, then you're going to have to put in the time to really make sure that it's thoughtful. There's intention. That I don't personally believe in perfection, but I believe in unwavering excellence. So is this excellent, what we are putting out into the marketplace? And if it's not excellent, don't slap it out there, because that becomes your reputation, right? So Tom, I'm really getting so much value out of this conversation from a lot of different points. I want to ask you kind of a totally different question, because you've just launched your second book. We have an audience that a lot of them are writers and speakers and business owners and coaches. But like, when it comes to the book specifically, do you have any advice for other authors that are either in the writing journey or the marketing or the launch, or thinking about a relaunch, or maybe someday I'll write a book? Like, just, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot with that a little bit, but I'm wondering, like, as you're thinking about the next launch, what advice do you maybe want to pass on to other authors?
Sure. So at least for me, this has been very helpful. And maybe for some of you, it will be as well. What I like to do is I like to set up a lot of different folders on my computer, all for a single book, right? And I'll have my resources, and those will be, industry studies that I need to reference, right? Or stats that I need to reference, or stories that I want to reference. I will have a folder all for the individual chapters. I'll have a folder for the outline, right? And on interviews, right? I'm very, very big into interviewing lots of different executives, very successful executives, in order to layer those insights into the books. And so I have a whole folder for interviews and things like that.
Awesome.
So the more that you can compartmentalize, it makes it so much more manageable, or at least for me, it made it so much more manageable. So that would be my advice is, don't just have one big folder on your computer where you're trying to manage everything. Try and segment it, try and make it more snackable for yourself, so that it's so much easier to manage.
That's very helpful. It's because it's a huge undertaking to write a book. And then I think that once you understand your own organizational style behind it, it gets a little bit easier. So the next book will be a breeze compared to the last one, right?
That's right.
I know we're just about out of time, because did that go fast? It always goes fast with you, Tom. I think it's because I like you so much. But what I want to do is open up the floor as like parting wisdom, or what you really want people to know. And it could be like, this is my vision for the company. These are my goals. If you know anybody that you could introduce me to in these ways, please let me know. Or maybe it's something completely different, and it's more of just like life wisdom that you just feel called to share. Or maybe it's a tactic or strategy that you want to leave from the book. So just open forum here. What is the one parting wisdom that you want to share with the audience today?
I would say the most important thing is, life is short, and, you should just be kind to people.
It's like you steal the words out of my heart and mind. Like, oh my gosh, I never would have expected you to say that, but that's great.
Yeah, I've met a lot of people in my life, and certain people are very kind, very warm, and very generous and giving, and just such fantastic souls. And then you have others who are very, they're small in their thinking, and their heart is small,
closed, yeah, or rigid or rough,
they're you decide how you're going to live life and how you're going to impact others. You decide. And so, are you going to be giving and loving and help others and empower others and lift everyone up? Or are you going to try and tear them down? And so, obviously I would recommend that you lift them up. Right? It's such a better way to live life. You can be so much happier that way, I think.
Yeah, I know I threw you a curveball there. Like, if you could say anything, what would you say? And it's like, really? But I really value that answer. It made a personal impact on me, because when people are like, how do I refer people to you, Amber? Like, who do you like to work with at NGNG? My answer point blank every single time is, well, I know this is an unusual response, but the first qualifier is they have to be kind, because I only want to work with kind people moving forward. And Tom, people's faces, like, they just morph and distort and change, because like they've never heard an answer like that. They would have expected me to say, oh, well, the business owner between 30 and 55 years old in this niche. But I just want to work with kind people. And Tom, you are one of the kindest, nicest, most giving people I've ever met. So thank you for just the way that you lead by example. And that also stems directly into this book, the course, the next book, Stratabeat. So on behalf of Tom Shapiro, please help him get his voice out to the world, because don't you agree, we need more Toms in the world? And Tom, I just want to thank you for your leadership here today and the personal impact that you've made on me. And I'm really excited to see where you take your company in the next few months, because we spoke about it. You're going straight to the top, my friend. Glad to have you there.
Thank you. And Amber, right back at you. I mean, you are one of the kindest, most fantastic people I've ever met. And so I want to just send it right back at you. And
I receive it.
And anyone listening, I mean, I would be happy to answer any marketing questions you have. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can connect with me at tomshapiro.com. You can connect with me at stratabeat.com. However you want to do it. But I'm happy to help. If you just have a question, I'm happy to answer it for you. So
awesome.
Open invitation.
I hope everybody listening, you guys have a fantastic weekend. Just remember, no guts, no glory. And thank you for supporting our community, our authors, their launches. We're doing big things in the world here, and it requires a community. It requires a tribe. So thank you for being a part of mine. We'll catch you guys later. Thanks so much.